shit inside my mouth. Oh, I had to check that my my mic was plugged in. Then wouldn't want you missing out on all of that, all the amazing song singing, just because I forgot to plug in my microphone. Can you imagine missing that top quality content? That's all we make anymore. I'm not an artist, I'm a content creator. More like content. I'm a content creator. What do you do? I'm a cunt-ent creator. Get it? I don't create content, I create content. That's the sort of what I was doing with that. My penis. Oh, it's huge. You've got to see it. My attention. I'm a bit distracted because the Illustrated World Series. I'm doing it, and it's in a couple of days. I'm recording this now, currently, on a Wednesday rather than a Thursday, because this Friday, as of recording this, if you're watching this on YouTube, then it would have already been and gone. But it's this Friday is the illustrious Illustrational World Series. They're calling it the Masters or something. And I've done zero preparation. I'm very sort of nervous about it. I don't know. I've not been feeling that confident about like my art and such in general of late. So I'm not entirely sure how sort of confident I'm feeling about the whole thing. It's sort of like, I guess I'll participate, but not necessarily terrifically eager about. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm saying a whole bunch of shit, and none of it matters. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm getting some inking practice in, trying to practice my inking to get, ahead of the competition, to get some shit, just so I can sort of know what I'm doing. Because, so if you're unaware, it's an illustration tournament. You go one-on-one with another artist, and you're given an obscure, strange, kooky headline from the news to illustrate. You both illustrate it at A2 size, twice the size of this, using black and white and grayscale. Grayscale can fuck off. And one colour of your choice. Mine is usually the old pinky pink rinkadinks. They don't call me the pinky rinky dink kid for nothing. There's a reason I got that such a cool name. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm practicing with getting the colour. So it's quite funny doing them online, because in person you can be right there and see it, but doing them online, which this one is this time round, it's funny because the first sort of 10 to 20 minutes of everyone's session, as you're watching them, they've got a blank page and they're just doing this because they've got a pencil and they're just marking out the area, the shapes of what they're drawing. But usually the camera can't quite pick up the pencil, so it's just like a blank page and their hand moving around. And then they start inking, they start adding colour and stuff, and then after sort of 15, 20 minutes, you start seeing something come together. But what I want to avoid, and I always have more or less avoided that because I always used my pink ballpoint pen, very quickly get the basic shapes in, then the colour, then the black ink on top, and then white out to get rid of some bits and pieces here and there. Because, pencils are for pussies. So I've sort of somewhat avoided that in general. But I want to avoid that whole stage, the whole blocking out stage, and just go straight in with the ink as I've done here. Just draw with the highlighter, then add the inks on top, and then whatever else on top and underneath all of that. Because I figure, for one thing, you're one of the things you're marked on is you're graded on or whatever is technique, I believe. So hopefully they'll look at the fact that I've just gone straight in with ink, the judges, and they'll be like, oh shit, no blocking out, no pencils for this guy, for this character, this crazy cat. What's he up to? He doesn't need any fucking pencils. What is he, a madman? Just diving straight in like that. Oh, what's going on? This guy's crazy. And then I'll get more points and win the contest ultimately. Here's hoping. So none of that blocking out, just straight into ink. Kim Young Hoo. That's another guy, because that sounds like it would actually be an Asian surname, which is probably racist of me to say. I don't know. Let's move away from that. And then I want the drawings to just be good in general anyway, just cool, good drawings drawn by Ewan, who draws the draw all over the draw with the drawy draw and drawings. And I guess ultimately we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I apologise if I do get a little bit quiet and distracted, because I'm actually trying to concentrate on this. I figure I'm recording this now on the Wednesday because I'm going to need the next couple of days to sort of get my shit together for the Friday evening start of the contest. I've got a whole shit load of things I need to do before then. So we'll see how that all goes. Ooh, don't know how happy I am with that. That's all right. So I don't know if I'm quite looking forward to it or if I'm just sort of about it, participating just because, what else am I going to do? I've got something more important to do. No, clearly not. This is me we're talking about. Yes, I'm drawing Jesus. Yeah. I'm drawing two G. This is Jesus and this is a Jesus. It'll all come together towards the end, don't worry. I've got a plan. It's all part of a thing. It's one of those things where it's like, oh shit, I need to practice drawing. What shall I draw? And I was just drawing random heads and faces, just doodling. And then one of them sort of looked like Jesus. And I was like, oh, I guess I can draw Jesus. And then I was like, but what if I didn't draw one Jesus? What if I drew two Jesuses? Oh my God. And so that's now what I'm doing. Oy. I found with this little zigzag mini hatching technique. If you use it here and there in a few places, it works. But if you use it all over the place, it looks shit. So that's something I need to sort of learn as I'm doing it, is where to and where to not use that. Get some really fucking bold lines on here. Get really bold. Yeah. That's cool. That does actually look cool. I quite like that. See, it's all learning. It's all part of the learn. I'm really sort of about this. I don't know. I don't feel confident. This whole year's been really weird for me in terms of art. I've not been terribly happy with anything I've been doing. So the idea of being in a contest is a bit of an odd one, especially since when I went out in like the semi-finals or whatever it was last time, I got very sad for a couple of days because, as I've said before, I tie so much of my self-worth into my art and my ability as an artist. So when I fail, when I lose, and I'm told I'm not good enough, it affects me more than it maybe should. But that's just because I love the game so much, man. I'm pretty happy with that hand, though. That's quite cool. I really want to go for a more sort of comic book style with my drawings in this contest, because a lot of the drawings that are done during these events are very sort of like bold, graphic, illustrative pieces, almost like Nickelodeon or Disney-esque, just bright, colourful, blocky characters and cartoony looking people and stuff. Lots of bold shapes and whatever, which isn't bad, but I think another way I could sort of make myself stand out compared to the rest is to have a much more sort of like comic book style to the artwork, rather than big funny blocky characters. Have dynamic, angry, maybe slightly more detailed characters. Ultimately, it kind of depends on, because we're given like random, like I say, obscure news stories, headlines to draw, and you can't always do that. Sometimes you just have to sort of, because one of the main reasons I've lost in the past has been because I've not adequately illustrated the story. I've gone a bit like, done my own thing a bit and not stuck to the news story, whereas the person who beat me did stick to the news story. So it's going to be in my best interest to stick to the news story. But the problem is, with a lot of them, there's so many just little bits to the story, like different people involved, different characters, different scenarios, different pieces of information. And then trying to cram all of those things into one page is can be tricky, but it gets a bit messy and doesn't necessarily look good, which for me is the whole thing, is making a drawing that looks good. And that's where I've lost. That's another reason I've lost before as well, is because I've tried to make a big, bold image. And I've had some really successful images like that have won rounds and looked good in past rounds of this contest. But like a guy who beat me in the previous one, there was a story about like people selling bunkers to Trump supporters to wait out all of the COVID and the stuff from the people on the left and all of that shit. And there was Trump, there was COVID, there was MAGA, there was the liberal left and dirty money and people selling the bunkers and all of these different elements, and trying to cram all of that into one drawing was just, I found that very difficult. And I did a big bold image with the bottom half was a guy in a bunker with a gun and a MAGA hat, and the upper half was people above ground having a party, enjoying themselves and stuff. And I thought it was pretty good, but the other guy, he won, fair and square, I guess. He did. He did manage to cram in all those elements, and he did it in a relatively sort of like okay way. But for me, the image becomes a lot weaker when there's so many little bits going on. Like, it's cool to have lots of detail and things happening, but it's just it can look a bit too busy. It's my concern. My concern is for the art. Like, yeah, maybe you've successfully illustrated the news story or whatever, but does it look good? Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. See, if I ever get to be a judge in one of these things, which I would quite like to do, and there's been talks about something like that happening, I will have to take into account, all of these elements. I won't just be able to go, is the drawing good? If not, they lose. I will have to actually judge on, the appropriate criteria and all that bullshit, all that happy horse shite. But that's, something for another time, I guess, not really. Right now, I just need to focus on drawing and getting drawings done and winning the contest. I don't know how likely that is, but as you've all seen over the last few weeks or whatever, I don't know, call it depression, whatever it is I've got going on, has been better. I've not been doing terribly great of late, and my self-confidence isn't at its highest point, and as such, my feelings about this contest are basically that I'm not tremendously confident about it. I've probably said that about 4 or 5 times already this episode. I don't really need to carry on about it, do I? Again, I'm distracted. I'm trying to concentrate and make a cool image of 2 Jesuses. Jesus! No art book today as such, but I got these. Oh, but you showed us those last week. Yes, I know, but I've actually read them. Gasp! Shock! Horror! I know. Reading. Imagine. See how much more, energetic I am now. I don't have to focus on fucking thing. See, normally I draw on this and it's like, yeah, whatever. If I'm drawing some shit like this, it's like, yeah, whatever, give a fuck. But when it's something like that and I actually want it to, I have a certain, and I'm trying to, I read these, I read them. This is cool, this one. So all I'm going to do is give an overview of, oh, my fingernails are filthy. I'm sorry, but I've been so distracted with the thing. I'll just give you a quick overview of the stories, just in case you're interested. And even if you're not interested, fuck you to it anyway. Zombies vs. Robots. So as said, the previous issue was like the roundup of the whatever, So this one is, yeah, year one after the bombs dropped in Colorado Springs, Colorado. These robots out here sort of looking for the last of the zombies, and they're like, there's no more zombies. And he's like, you say that, and then there's one there, and they blam, and so they're out killing the last of the zombies. That's the whole thing. Winter Hope Falls. Pew, 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 pew. And it's like a doc bot combined with a soldier bot. So it's like a good cop, bad cop sort of thing. You get it. And then they come across this holographic distress signal. We repeat, we're alive. We need supplies. Help. Repeat, we're alive. We need supplies. He's like, hey, hot woman. Woo. I love the duotone dots for the robots there. That's really cool. So they track the message to this bunker. They blow the fucking doors off, and these people inside are like, why did you blow our fucking doors off? And they're like, fuck your doors, give a shit. Christ on a two Christs. And they're scientists going, we're trying to save the human race. There's not much of us left, but come and see what we're doing. And the robot's like, oh fuck, because they see on these science tables they've got zombies. They're experimenting on the zombies, trying to find a cure or something. And the robots are like, well, these zombies are being kept alive. What are you doing? Like, how are you keeping them alive? And the scientists are like, maybe we're feeding them people. And the robots are like, you fucks, we're supposed to be like saving the human race, killing all the zombies, and you're keeping them alive and feeding them more. You fucks. So they blow the scientists away. The zombies break out. They fight all the fucking zombies. And there's just one scientist left who's like, oh, what have you done? It's the last of the human race. And the robots are like, fuck them, give a shit. And that's the end. That's the end of like zombies versus robots. The epilogue, whatever. And then there's this one, which is it's a really neat a small tale, and it's a really neat one. Little boy at home, young lad with his wee little toy pet robot. His dad is gone and not come back, gone out for cigarettes and not come home. And I don't know if that is his dad, but I guess maybe it is. And he finds him and he's like, oh, guess Dad's not coming back. So he goes out, packs his dinner, Dad's fleshlight, it's a sex toy, look it up, comics and a ray gun, and he's ready to go find his dad or his mum or some shit, just go on a trek, on a voyage to gather information. What I did notice about this through reading it is it says that windy sound, and then here it says that windy sound is still being heard, small twigs breaking sound, and there's some more like pop of metal and bones. I swear there was some more. I swear there's a bit more. A howl of wind, creak, creak. The sound of flies, buzz. He actually says the sound of flies, buzz, which is really cool. Like, rather than put like whoosh across the page for a howl of wind, he writes a howl of wind, so you know there's a howl of wind. And the buzzing of flies, the sound of flies, just to put that in your head. It's not just buzz, it's the sound of flies. That's what flies sound like. Which reminded me of a time this guy who made a comic about a Viking with guns put this in issue 1. Insolent fool, you dare defy the rule of the Mountain King! And then wind noise, it says wind noise, because he's just staring blankly at him like, the fuck? Wind noise. See, I did that. Now, I'm not saying Ashley would stole that from me, because he would never have seen Gun Viking, and it's not that original an idea. It's just saying what the sound is rather than writing the sound, because whoosh for a wind noise looks a bit shit in a comic book, in my opinion. So the boy goes out, he finds an old decrepit, dilapidated zombie-killing robot, and it's like, oh, it's an old warbot, oh my god, but it's like dead or whatever. But then, pop, and some zombie hands come out of this pond, and the robot wakes up and goes, blah, 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 shoots the fuck out of these zombies, and then he swings his little robot around, takes one of their heads off, and then that big robot walks off, and he's like, oh, but now I lost my friend. They carry on. They find this a fallen giant, this huge robot that's like collapsed and rusted, and a shack built on top of it, and there's some girl in the shack, and she's like, hey kid, stay there, I'm Minzy, I'll be right there. Minzy's got like a robot balloon or something, and then they hang out, and they go, hey, let's head out together, zombies versus robots. Pew, talk about the war, and they go, let's go see the plugger. if anyone knows how we change our odds, it's the Plugger. Why is he called that? Because he fucking wants to. So they travel to find this guy, the Plugger, her and he, him and her, and then they go, well, shit, it's not good that the Plugger got plugged too. They don't show it, but they say, you know, I guess this is the Plugger's house, and they find him dead. So they're like, oh shit, I kind of felt like that was our last tape. Maybe he was just our second to last tape. Maybe you could be our last tape instead. And she's like, shit, me? Oh, never saw myself as a babysitter, let alone anyone's last hope. Ooh. So she's like, okay, come on, let's walk on by. Let's go. But then kid starts coughing, and she's like, maybe, then again, maybe not. Sorry, kid. Boom, 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 snog. The kid turned into a zombie. Oh my god. Traveling. Shit, the guy we're looking for is not there. Let's go see where else we can go. Oh, fuck. It's fucked. Kill the kid. And that's it. It's a really neat little story. Like, it's a really good self-contained one-shot, like 20-something pages. I love the way it's drawn. I love the layouts, as I creamed over them last week already. Scratchy, blocky, but like cool. The panels are cool. The open panels are cool. Just the sketches of people. Just a really coolly drawn comic. Ashley Wood comic. Ashley Wood being the fucking genius comic creator that he is. I love these panels, man. Using the duotones for some of them and the black and the... It's really fucking good. That's that. I also read this. I read the James Harren story, which is they use some mystic smoke to go find some place, and they find this dilapidated house, and they go inside, and this guy kicks the door in, chops up all the fucking monsters, and then there's this weird fucking guy here, and he's like, I've got your fucking dog, and he's like, give me my dog back, and the guy's like, I'll give you your dog if you give me your fucking sword, and he's like, my fucking sword, no, you can't have my fucking sword, and the guy's like, whoa, don't give him your fucking sword, and then he's about to give him his fucking sword, and he's like, no, I can't watch, don't give him your fucking sword. But then, boink, something happens. This guy comes out of fucking nowhere. He obviously teleports somehow, grabs the dog. Now suddenly, this guy doesn't have the dog, so he gives him his sword in his neck, chops his head off, cling, and he's like, yay, you got his fucking head off. And then they save the dog. And they're all like, so you did all that mayhem and nastiness just to get your dog back? And he's like, yeah, he's my dog, he's my best friend. What the fuck's wrong with you? And then they're like, where is the dog anyway? And he's like, where'd he go? Ooh, he's peeing on the guy's head. That's a neat little story. James Harren's artwork. We love it. Love it. I think that's what I'm kind of trying to... what's the word? Channel. I'm trying to channel some kind of James Harren energy into my things here. Because if I could put something like that energy into... the Illustrated World Series contest, I think I'd have a really solid chance of winning, at least in terms of, you know, technique and making an image look fucking cool. And so that's what I thought I'd do, is have another little look over Ultra Mega, which is, you know, James Harren's art at its finest, pretty much. Because it's bold where it needs to be, and it's hugely dynamic. Well drawn. The inking is second to none, and that's really what it's all about, inking. Because I was thinking, if I was trying to think of an art book to show, and I was, being that I'm doing the Illustrated World Series thing right now, I was thinking, do I have any books that sort of reflect that, like bold colour and solid inking over the top? And I couldn't really think of anything, because most of what I show is like paintings and stuff, which doesn't really apply. But then I saw this and I was like, you know what? In terms of inking, like I'd love to see this in black and white, the original artwork for that. I'm gonna have to do some Googling and see if any of that's available to at least look at online. I wouldn't be able to afford to purchase any, but if I can at least look at some of it, it'd be really cool, because the inking is so good. The dynamic poses, bold lines, and just it's so fucking cool. And he does scenes well, and that's, you know, something I'm going to have to do, because there's often with illustration, there's basically two types of illustration. There's illustrating scenes, and there's illustrating things. So you can do like almost concept art of like draw a fancy sword, or like even just a room or a box, or like just draw a house, and it's just a thing on a page. But then there's scenes where you actually draw something happening, and you've got to do backgrounds and other characters and things interacting with other things. So you draw an object interacting with a space rather than just an object on its own. And both of those things can apply in this contest. So it's, while you want to practice drawing just things, just funny characters, funny heads, hands and stuff, it's good to look at more interacting spaces and scenes happening, because chances are you'll have to draw some of that. And I did have to draw some of that in previous contests, and in all likelihood will again. So it's important to look at that. Oh, I love the shapes in like the muscles and stuff, and the inking, where he puts harsher shadows and where he doesn't. It's so fucking good. God damn. Really, really, really good. Where is it? Where's the... Oh, man. If you get a chance and like a reasonable time to draw something like that in the Illustrated World Series, you should just be handed the winnings there and then. Oh, it's just so... I love just all the gloopiness and how solid and gloopy all of his ink feels. Let's get to some of the fucking fight scenes. Yeah, there you go. And that's, yeah, I'm trying to pay attention to some of the inking and to see like what I can copy, where I can apply my own, or apply it to my own work. And that's what I was doing with giving like the bolder outlines to the arms and stuff. Because that's something you really need to pay attention to, is having like bold outlines for these really solid, chunky objects, and then thinner lines to depict smaller objects around them. Because I've made the mistake in the past of using the same, it's what they call line weight, of just, bold, chunky lines for everything in a scene, and it all crowds into each other and you can't make one thing out from another. And that's when you start going, I'll use like a white line around the things to pull it out, and it's just... it gets messy and doesn't necessarily look great. I'd love to do something like this as well, with a black hand fading into white. So then you could white with black details and then fade it into black, and then use like Tipp-Ex or white out to pull out details in that. Oh, man. Because you could draw cartoons and illustrations and whatever for this contest, but if you can draw some shit like this, if you have a reason, if you can force it into whatever story and headline you're given, some shit like this, these fucking poses, man, that hand, that arm, and that pose, and this, that kick pose is so fucking cool. That punch, the solid like foom with his leg going up here, and that shape there, and that pose and that pose. Oh, it's all just fucking good. Really fucking good. I love that. That's so cool. The pose is so strong. The arm and the leg are basically on the same angle. Widespread, wide set legs, solid in the ground. And then this going this way, this going that way, and his head coming off. He punched his fucking head off, the blood. And then shadowing out like the intestines and stuff. And oh, it's just so cool. The rubble, the smoke coming off his hand because he blasted his power hand into the ground. All the smoke coming off of that is cool. Smoke in the background. Oh, Jesus. Oh, so good. You can tell this was drawn at quite a large scale with the thickness of the lines and the amount of detail he's gotten into it. Drawing all of these buildings would be such a pain in the balls. And he's so good. And then with having them all be like really, fairly desaturated, and then the purple and red of the body is really, really good contrast. And then it rains blood. Yeah, man, so that's some shit to keep in mind, innit? I'm happy with this so far, so let's see if I can not fucking ruin it. I say that and then I attempt to draw it ahead from like an underneath kind of view. Concentrating. Doesn't look like a Jesus at all, does it? But it will. Oh, it will. How long is Jesus' beard supposed to be? I mean, you'd think I'd know, considering the fucking years I spent looking at his picture. Also, pretty much the last thing I expected I'd want to draw. Oh, I need to draw something to practice for this contest. What shall I draw? Jesus is the answer. Oh my God, you're right. I should look towards my Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christy the Christ, for answers. I fucked that eye up, but maybe I can fix it in a bit. Ooh, trying to make the hair not disappear into the beard is going to be a tricky one. I think I've mentioned it before, but I believe the Illustrated World Series is responsible for me being slightly more known as Uncle Ewan rather than just Ewan, which I'm not mad about, but it's just sort of, it wasn't my intention and it just sort of happened. So as I've said before, I put my name as Uncle Ewan on Instagram just sort of because it was funny, because I'm the creepy uncle guy. And that's true in my family. I'm the weird uncle that no one really sees or hears from. He lives alone somewhere out there doing his drawings, his weird art and stuff, and no one really knows too much about him, about what he does. And so I'm that weird Uncle Ewan. I've got many nieces and nephews because of my family can't stop having fucking babies, apparently. And so it was like not a joke, but it was just is what it was. Just, I'll just be Uncle Ewan. Hey, that's fun. Let's do that. And then the first Illustrated World Series contest that I was in, they put my name as Uncle Ewan. Because they obviously, it was on Instagram, and they were like, I guess he likes to be known as Uncle Ewan. And that's what they put my name as. And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't, like I say, I wasn't mad about it. I wasn't going to say, could you change that to just Ewan, please? I don't want to be known as Uncle Ewan. But now it's at the point, if you might have seen the video I uploaded to YouTube, a very short one, of a guy at a convention asking Scotty Young, because I'd done those variant cover paintings for Scotty Young's I Hate Fairyland series. That arm is not where it should be, holy shit. It works. It works for me. It's good enough. And there was a guy who follows me on Instagram who bought some of the original artwork for those covers I did, which is very cool. And then he, right at the end of this panel that Scotty Young was on at a Comic-Con in America, that guy who'd bought some of the artwork asked Scotty Young about me, about if there was any plans to do more variant covers with me as the artist, or me painting over Scotty Young's drawings. But then when he asked the question, he started by going, or is there any more plans to have variant covers by Uncle Ewan? Like he referred to me as Uncle Ewan. I'll play the video right now. Let me find it so I can play it at the same time and know what the fuck's happening.
And one other thing, just to follow up on that.
Sure.
Are we going to see any more Uncle Ewan variants on the series at all?
Oh my gosh! Oh, is that the painter, right?
Art from him for a couple of those covers. They're incredible.
He's amazing. Yeah, I need to reach back out to him.
Your pencils, I would love to see him.
He's talking about there's an artist in England who just did just for fun. One of his friends drew Gert for My Hate Fairyland, and he painted it. He's got this crazy Bisley painting style.
I haven't seen this.
So for the variant covers, he doesn't. Thanks for the support, John. No, but for the variant covers,
Yeah, I don't know who this person is.
yeah. What's his name?
It's Ewan again, I think.
Yeah, it's
Ewan McLaughlin, I think
right.
is his name.
And I would just send him pencils, and he would Bisley over it.
Oh, nice.
And it's just bonkers awesome. So no,
Is it analog or is it?
yeah, actual painting on paper. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, we'll probably reach out to him for a thing. Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. Great question.
So that's cool. Sorry, I got carried away. I was. What was I doing? Drawing like a fucking ninny nonce. This is all kind of the anatomy on this one is a bit weird. Maybe that should be pink and then. It works. It's good enough. It's good enough, and that's all you need. You just need to be good enough to do. So yeah, that was really cool. So I love at the start of that he goes, "Are there any more plans for whatever working with Uncle Ewan or variant covers by Uncle Ewan?" And Scotty's like, "What? What the fuck are you talking about?" And you can see there's a moment where he's just confused. He's like, "I have no idea what you just said." And then he clocks and he's like, "Variant covers? Oh, the painter. Yeah, that guy." And then he's like, what's his name? Who the fuck is he? Ewan or something? Again, that's another thing with the Uncle Ewan thing. I'm not mad about it. With that, Scotty Young not remembering my name, that's more funny to me than anything else. And it's also well, yeah, of course. Of course he doesn't remember my name. I painted over some of his drawings for some variant covers 5 years ago. He's a busy man. He's got a lot to do. He's not just going to remember some guy who did some work with him. But yeah, he was very, very complimentary, talking about my artwork, saying how it is very, very good. Comparing me to Bisley, which is cool. Everyone loves the Bisley. And Bisley's who I copied to learn to paint. So yeah, can't be mad at that at all. And then, he says, "Oh, I'll have to get in touch with the guy." That might have just been someone asks a question and you don't want to be like, "Nah, I don't really feel like working with that guy anymore." So instead he says, "Oh yeah, I'll have to get in touch with him." But there is the chance that someone thought to ask the question. He bought the artwork from those variant covers and thought enough to ask the question about the guy. So maybe, people want to see Uncle Ewan paint more variant covers. So maybe he will get in touch with me, which would be cool. And I figure now I could probably charge a bit more because I charged, he paid me for those covers, but I didn't know what to do. That was when I still had my day job and I didn't really care about the money. I still don't, but I need it more now. So when he was asking how much I'd want for them, I told him a price and it wasn't high, but it was, adequate, I guess. But now I could probably charge a bit more since I'm doing it for a living and, I'm a bit more up in the game and such. So that could be cool. Something to maybe possibly look forward to in the future. I know he is bringing out more I Hate Fairyland, but I think this current run is just about taken care of in terms of... I know he's got someone else doing the internal art. He's probably just writing it, maybe doing some covers and stuff, I don't know. But these pens, it's cool, cheap highlighters. Yeah, hooray, cool, but they do not hold much ink, which is a pain. So having 50 of them is necessary, I think. It starts out cool, plenty of ink in this one, yeah, no worries. But it just doesn't last. And so I'm wary about using these highlighters for the contest because you're allowed 8 pieces of kit: pencil, eraser, ruler, pens, brush pens, colours, whatever. 8 items, which is another reason not to use pencils. Because if you have a pencil, you're probably going to want an eraser as well. So that's 2 pieces right there, just for like the first 10 minutes of your piece. So I figure if I use like 4 or 5 pink highlighters just to be safe, and then 2 or 3 black pens, brush pens. I've got new Posca markers specifically for the contest. And then whiteout is going to be one of them, of course. I'll use a slightly lesser precious item for this. So yeah, that's the tale of how Uncle Ewan came to be known as Uncle Ewan, and apparently that's just a thing now. Maybe if I do more variant covers for Scotty Young, I'll make them put my name on the cover as Uncle Ewan, and then I'll become known in the comic book industry as Uncle Ewan, who does those Bisley style paintings for people's variant covers, and then more people will hit me up and be like, "Oh shit, you again, I saw you do the first run for Scotty Young, now you're doing more, that's really cool, hey, you should work on this for me." And Uncle Ewan, we all love Uncle Ewan and his crazy paintings. Might be cool. But I think the whole thing with like my name, and I don't use my surname, and props to the guy who asked the question, who even mentioned my surname. He got my full name, Ewan McLaughlin, and my Instagram handle in there, Ewan again. But yeah, I don't use my surname because it's just long, and if I say it to people, I say my name's Ewan McLaughlin, they're like, Ewan McLaughlin, or what was that? No, it's McLaughlin. It's MCLA. It's a fucking pain in the ass. So just Ewan. I just go by Ewan because it's easier. It's easier for me, and I'm the important one. And that was my original goal, I guess, was just to be known as Ewan. But if I'm going to be known as Uncle Ewan, I guess I'd be okay with that. It might be a little bit cheesy. I don't really like nicknames for people in industries and stuff. Like, there's a comedian, someone, Iglesias or someone, got a chunky guy who's known as Fluffy. For some reason, I don't know why. I've tried listening to him, but I'm not really into his comedy. I don't find him that funny. But his thing is he's called Fluffy. That's what he's known as. For whatever reason, I'm sure he has a reason for that, just as I've got a reason for being Uncle Ewan. And I'm sure it's just as valid a reason. But it's when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, nah, I don't really like the whole nickname thing. Like, just have your name. I get like that even with graffiti sometimes. Graffiti writers are like, oh yeah, I'm this, or I write that, and like that's what they're known by, and it's like, you just write your name. I understand with the illegality of graffiti, you can't just go writing your actual name on. But my point is, nicknames can seem a little bit like silly. So if I become known as Uncle Ewan, I don't know, I might just feel a bit silly. And it might seem like it's a crutch, like, oh, you got a funny Uncle Ewan name so people recognise you more or whatever. And it's like, no, that's just a thing. It's like, it's just whatever, And that's me in my head going, when they interview me when I'm big and famous. And they're like, hey, it's Uncle Ewan, how's it going? You're a crazy comic book artist. And then you've got to think, even like the most well-known comic book artists, they don't really get like famous, like interviewed on TV famous or whatever. They have their moments here and there, but largely they're just comic book artists, and that's it. And that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. So look, it's 2 Jesus, but it's not just one Jesus. But not just one Jesus, but two Jesuses. So it's like a movie poster or some such thing. Gonna need to do some creative whiteouting, I think. I use these pens as if the ink is just infinite, as if it's just never going to run out. Just, I think that's something I need to, pay more attention to is all. Yeah, let me get the white, make shit pop a bit more. Gonna need to get some new ones of these tomorrow. Make sure I've got enough for the contest. Make that eye a bit bigger, a bit more expressive. A few little bits here and there. Highlighty bits. Two Jesuses. See, my lack of confidence is like, if I black that out, will it look shit? But nah, I think it's alright. I think it's safe. It's not really ruined anything. Ugh. Yeah, I think that's alright. I feel like maybe I could put something in here. Maybe just, I don't know, some like... I guess this is where grayscale could be good. I've always been a bit meh about it. About having grayscale in general, especially in like these contests and things. For one thing, it's another piece of equipment to have, but maybe it's worthwhile. Because I think if I did this background in grayscale, it would probably look a bit better, nice and neater or something, I don't know. I guess that's it. Not just one Jesus, but two Jesuses. This is his other leg. This leg coming down here, and there'd be a sandal about here, but not really going to show that, are we? You add in the texture texture or whatever stuff. I think that's pretty cool. Drawn in under an hour. I don't know how long. Maybe just under an hour. And it's about half the size of what the actual piece needs to be. This is A3. The actual stuff in the contest is A2. Which, I can do in that time limit. Usually. It's all good. It'll be all good. Like I say, I'll do a bigger practice tomorrow. I'll record that and get the video up on Instagram or whatever. I say all that, but by the time I've done it, I would have done it already before this episode goes up online. So by the time you're hearing me talk about it, it would have been and gone. Never mind then, eh? Whatever. Yeah, and again, sorry if my attention's been a bit like all over the place. Bit distracted here and there, but I think the stress of it all is just ever so slightly getting to me, and I'm just trying not to. I don't know. I just don't want to have a panic attack like I did last time. Hui vey. It's just little bits. I'm just like, that would need to stand out a bit more, and this is a bit messy, and that's a bit. I don't know if it's any good. It's the same thing every time. You spend so much time looking at your own work, you cannot tell at all if it's good or not. Even if you know it's fucking amazing. It has to be amazing. It's the Lord Jesus Christ. How can it not be fucking amazing?